Awesome. Hey, welcome to Coffee Connect. I'm Roddy, I'm the host. Uh, if you enjoy your conversations today and your connections that you're making, I would urge you to email me at ccinfo@addictedtoconnecting.com so I can add you to the invite list. Like I heard for the first time, like we're yesterday at the Cleveland area networking, Sue said something about we do it. We're the European way, right? I don't add somebody unless they ask to be added, right? And at the same time, you can remove yourself anytime you want, right? Unsubscribe, and trust me, it will go away, and you will no longer get emails from me. I don't do a whole lot of emails. There's 2 or 3 a week. I'm not going to lie, right? But they're all invites to this. Beyond that, you might get an occasional 4th of July message or a Christmas message or something like that. And so we love having you as part of our family, right? And if you want to check out more Coffee Connect episodes, please go to www.addictedtoconnecting.com. You can get to the YouTube channel through there and go back and check out all the past episodes, including last week's episode where we had a discussion on what is the leader that you're bringing into the room, right? What is the presence that you're giving off? What are people feeling when you walk into the room, in either in a one-on-one conversation or a group setting or whatever, right? Hopefully all of you that attended that, right, you walked away with some great lessons for yourself on how you can be a better leader. Today, we're going to continue the conversation with leader, because it's not just about the presence, but it is about the communication and the message that you're putting across. And so this whole premise of leadership, communication, and stuff really came into play. I was trying to put 2 or 3 topics together that kind of centered around one thing. We talked about the presence last week. We talked about communication this week. Next week, we're going to talk about decision making, right? And then the 4th of July week, as we go into the celebration of 250 years of our country, right? We're going to culminate a lot of these leadership discussions with talking about how we think this might have related to our forefathers and stuff, and the decisions they were making, and the struggles that they might have been going through, right? 250 years ago, when they came up with this great nation and stuff. And so communication that actually lands. Raise your hand. Like, how many of you guys have been in a situation, you maybe you were the deliverer of the message, or maybe you were the receiver of the message, but regardless of what it is, right? What role you were playing, whatever got said wasn't what you just heard, right? Or whatever you said wasn't just what got heard, right? We've all been there, I think, where we've tried to relay a message, and maybe it's because we let other things get in the way, as far as we want to be cognizant of the feelings of the other person, or whatever else, right? And we want to make sure the tone is right and the clarity is good and stuff like that. And it's almost like we overcomplicate it, and therefore the message gets jumbled, right, along the way. And so I think a lot of times when we're doing this, it's not that communication isn't well intended. I think every time we're trying to say something or communicate something, it is well intended, but intention doesn't equal impact, right? And so we've got to make sure that all of those things come into play, and not every situation, right, is going to be the same. There is going to be a moment that maybe you have to raise your voice a little bit, right? That you have to become a little bit more assertive. And then there's going to be other moments where you got to be a little bit more gentle about what we're saying and how you're landing things and stuff. And I think about this from my perspective in the industry that I'm in and stuff. Obviously, delivering death benefits to a family that just had a life insurance claim, guys, is a lot different conversation and tonality and emotional exuberance that goes into it, as opposed to me trying to motivate somebody because they're doing something incorrectly or against the law or whatever. I mean, those are 2 different conversations and 2 different things that have to have. But I think there's a framework around every communication that comes to play. And so I think today we're going to do some role playing, right? But also just kind of we want to dive into this to try and figure out what are some patterns that maybe we recognize about our conversations that we have with other people and stuff. And so I want to open the floor. Like, is there some opportunities that you guys can share as far as maybe events or conversations that you had that maybe didn't come out quite right, or maybe they did land perfectly. Like, what did you feel allowed you to do that? Anybody? I'll recall one real quick from a couple weeks ago. I shared, I had a commander. He was a great leader. Like, everybody loved him, really. But he had this moment about himself, like when he would walk into a room. I think most people felt like when this gentleman walked into a room, that everybody just felt like it was going to be his word or the highway, right? And that wasn't truly what he was all about. He just had a different way of going about getting and soliciting everybody else's intake, right, or input to the conversation. And instead of doing it publicly, right, instead of getting the team together all one and go, Andy, what are you thinking, right? You got your wheels turning. Darcy, what's your thoughts on this? And instead of doing it publicly, he would pull these individuals in, right, one at a time, and then he would get everybody together. So it was kind of like it always came across, but yet he didn't pull everybody. He would only pull really his select few, which to me sometimes left others to be not developed the way they should have been, right? Or didn't give them the opportunity to be developed the way they maybe could have, right? And so it was a simple conversation I had with him, right? And it was crazy because he never realized that that's what he was doing. Right? It's not that he didn't want it. It's not that he wanted it that way. He just didn't realize that that's how it was being perceived amongst the masses, right? Amongst the masses. And so I just had a frank conversation with him, and it was blunt, right? And obviously, when you're in the military, there is a hierarchy. So there is every conversation can start out with, "Hey, no disrespect, sir, but can we have a conversation, right?" And open yourself up to being able to mentor each other, not always be one way, right? And so that's an example that I have. Anybody else examples or things that they can share? Go ahead, Darcy. Yeah,
I got one, Rodney. So, in a private equity backed organization, our company and the board would have what was called spans and layers conversations, where the leadership is looking at the teams to understand what does that head count look like. And unbeknownst to me, because I wasn't in the room, they came back from those meetings, and I learned that we had a couple of recs that were open, and we were not going to fill them because they had cut us mid-year. So the work didn't change, but we were not going to get those two extra bodies. And it was the conversation one with the leadership team that this is what has happened. And then the reasoning behind it, that we were not on budget. The entire organization was asked to sort of tighten the belt and do what we could. And we knew we had some opportunities to look for ways that we could actually reduce our ticket volume. So I think it is, how do you share the message rather than just, oh, by the way, those two heads we had, they're not coming, suck it up kind of thing. So it's how you bring it back to the team, and then coach the leaders to how do they coach their individual group of people that they're leading.
absolutely, absolutely. Anybody else?
Rodney, to pile onto that, I mean, I do the small business mentoring via Score, and when a request comes in, I have a canned email I send to people, and basically they can schedule with me up to 6 p.m. at night, and I have a little blurb about, hey, let me know if you need an evening or a weekend appointment. Well, the wording makes perfect sense in my head, and I've had a couple of weird replies to this thing over the last 12 months. Didn't think of it. And then this morning, I got a text from one of the ladies that I sent this message to, and she read it polar opposite. And, my intent was one thing, but the perception was another. And, I pulled this email up, and you know what? I could see where somebody would do it. So, what I thought I was doing and what I actually was doing was different. So I had to take a moment and fix it. It was a simple thing to do, but it really speaks to what you think you're doing isn't always where it's landing, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's sometimes you think the other person sitting across from you is picking this up. And I'll tell you, like Clint and I have had a lot of conversations, right? He does not, I mean, he don't get paid for his stuff at Score, right? That's all volunteer stuff. And some of the conversations that I think he's had to have with people and getting them to realize, man, this could be a great idea, but you have no plan going forward. What, like, you're shooting from the hip at this point, and sometimes that's good, right? But when you go into business, you got to at least have a path, right, in which you're going to take and stuff. So there's never probably an easy conversation when it comes to that. And listen, so there's all kinds of things, right, that we can talk about as far as scenarios. And so we're just going to go into a role play real quick here for the first breakout. Jeff, we're going to go about probably 12. I wouldn't put a time limit on it, but we want to go. We're going to try for 3 people per room, and everybody's going to pick a scenario. There's scenarios that are listed on that PDF document, right? If someone can drop that back in for Rachel or April, I'm sorry, not Rachel, April, that just popped in, so she has it, or anybody else that needs it. And then, so we're going to do a role play. Everybody's going to have a scenario of which they have a message to deliver. Somebody's going to be the receiver, and the third person in the room is going to be the observer. And then you're going to you'll role play that, take a minute or so to debrief it, and then switch plays, right, where whoever was the receiver is now delivering some other message. Everybody can pick their own scenario. Right. The whole room doesn't have to do the same scenario. In fact, I would encourage you for all 3 people in the room to pick a different type of scenario. I know I'm not sharing. I'm going to go back to sharing here real quick so you can kind of see what we're talking about. So 5-step framework is one of the things we're going to focus on, right? As far as the observers, right? Is there clarity in the intention and what the desired outcome is? I mean, these aren't real situations, so emotional states are going to be difficult to kind of come across, but make sure the tonality and stuff is there, right? If it is a hard conversation, make sure it's there, right? If it's an emotional conversation, make sure it's there. And then pause, receive, and reflect, right? Let's take a minute to kind of debrief inside your rooms, right? On the end of that. At the end, whoever's delivering that message, right, there should always be an agreement of what the next step is, or which way we're moving forward, whatever the circumstance or whatever that's out there. And so role play, the 3 people per room, messenger, receiver, observer, 3 minutes per role. And then you guys can do a debrief at the end of each one. But we're going to come back and share one opportunity, right, and one success within those conversations. And so observers, please kind of pay attention to these things as we move forward. And again, we may not be perfect at this or whatever, I'm not sure, but here's our scenarios, right? You're delivering performance that is not up to par, right? We've all probably been there before and had to deliver stuff like this. Tone damaging morale, right? Someone that's coming in and just complaining about the company and complaining about things, and they're not just ruining what's going on, they're ruining everybody else that's around them, right? How are you having that conversation? Delivering disappointing news. You can figure out what that news is. It can be work related, it can be personal. It doesn't matter. I think those are important. Accountability for missed deadlines. Giving feedback to a mentor. Heated meeting fallout, right? We've all been in these in corporate boardrooms before, probably, or some kind of boardroom that maybe it got a little tempered, right? Because everybody wanted their way. How do you create the culture that is going to help bring everybody back together and act as a team and work as a team, right? And so that kind of goes into the next one as well, mediating team conflict, right? If you've got 2 coworkers that are in conflict of each other, how are you helping to negotiate that? Setting personal boundaries, owning a leadership misstep, right? You messed up something and it's affecting your entire team, right? Checking in on disengagement. So those are the 10 scenarios. If you've got a scenario of your own that you want to kind of role play again, because maybe it was one that you didn't do so well at before, that's fine too. Just make sure you brief your team on it. And then we'll come back to the main room. Jeff, you good?
I have a question for you. You said 3 minutes per person and a 3 a debrief. Do you mean you want 12 minutes in the rooms?
Yeah, 12 minutes in the room.
Okay, that's what I got it set to with a 1 minute timer at the end. All right.
Yes, sir.
They're ready. Open them.
Go for it. Yep.
Married, and they would have the little pedicabs, and the bride and the groom would go zipping down the streets in Annapolis. So
Yep.
it's a
And
neat
that all
place.
happened about a month ago, and now the newbies are coming in.
Okay.
Yeah, that's this week.
I was liking where that was going, April. Not, I was liking where that was going. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, but that's okay. So, guys, I mean, first of all, it is a little awkward when you're just trying to step into a role-playing scenario that may not be real to you. I think overall, my guys in my team or in my breakout, we did a pretty good job of getting through scenarios, having good feedback as far as how the conversations went and stuff. Is anybody open to sharing maybe some of the lessons that they came across?
I want to hear Brandy's debrief. Jeff and I were having a conversation, and it was a pretty good one. Then the pop-up that the room was ending came up, and I hit the wrong button and I exited.
Go for it.
So, Brandy, what was the debrief on that one?
I tried to speak as fast as I possibly could, and then I still ran out of time. I was like, what I was trying to say was the way that you were presenting was very cool and calm and collected. You were trying to get him to think intellectually about what his background looks like. I do feel like even though you were being cool, calm, and collected, he may have kind of felt still kind of a little defensive about it because he has to explain himself. So overall, though, I think your tone, and if we would have been able to keep on going a little bit longer, it would have been, okay, I can recognize moving forward that I may not have everybody being appreciative of what I have going for me. I think he did a great job answering the questions, but the way that you approached it was very cool, calm, and collected, which was nice.
What did you think, Jeff?
Well, you hadn't asked anything I hadn't thought about before, which helped me out.
Yeah, I was playing the role of the professionally offended.
Yes, you did a great job. And I found that most people, they don't do that. But as I explained, one reason I do that is to encourage that interaction so that I can learn to better handle that interaction. And that was fun. Honestly, that was a fun conversation for me.
It was good. So I think
I see the targets are down too.
Same thing.
Going right back up after this call. So
Great. Invite me over to your range sometime.
I would be happy to take you.
So I think we were the same way. We got through 2 and we were going through the 3rd, and we didn't get a chance to kind of finish it and debrief it. But I think April, going into missed deadlines and stuff, she owned the dilemma, right? And I had a clear plan forward as far as when that stuff could get done. I think there was some good conversations that were taking place, and even to the acknowledgement of the recipient, right, of that conversation, saying, hey, I appreciate the fact that you have a plan. There's a way forward, and we'll make sure that this isn't impacting other things. I mean, there was conversations that were taking place, and so great job on that. The other thing was, Daniel and I had a conversation. He was role playing the heated meeting discussion, right, and I was the recipient, and I got a little aggressive with him, but he kept the calm tonality, and he was just like, yeah, I'm not going to let Rodney get to me, right. Which also brought me down, right? And I think it's important that we as leaders, when we're approaching situations like that, right, that are just heated discussions, that we can keep our emotional level in check, right, and stuff. Mm-hmm. So what else did you guys come across? Conversations or lessons? Go ahead, Lamar. Yeah.
Well, I was blessed with having Carl as a messenger and Joanne as the receiver, and I could have sworn that they must have practiced this before, because they were so direct, so clear, and it was just it was a great exercise. Excuse me, a great example of what you're trying to convey through this. So I'd like to give them both an atta girls.
Did anything surprise anybody? Nothing. Karin, I can only imagine that Karin's had some tough, she's been working kind of legal stuff for a long time too, right?
Yeah, I replayed one that I handled poorly, and it was having to give not great feedback to someone who frankly had pretty much frosted everybody in the department. So, and at the time I was basically speechless. So, hindsight's 2020. But yeah, I mean, every once in a while you have to say you can't do that. It's illegal. And so the thing that you learn early in practice, and in this would be, so there was someone in our group who was working on a compliance issue with someone. So, often the thing you start with is I understand your priority and this much. What's your goal? Why are you doing this? Where is it that you want to get to? Okay, there's a better way to get there. There are other ways of doing that. And I think that that's, for any compliance oriented person, you can get very focused on what, just do it. What's your problem?
Yeah. It was funny because when I first came into the business, I remember we had a training one night. Like one of the hardest conversations you can have with anybody, not just your kids, is to say no. Right. To say no. Right. And so we had a whole training one night at the office. And it wasn't like hours. It was like 5 minutes of training on learning how to say no with a smile.
Yep.
Right. Daniel, go ahead.
No, Rodney, he did the leadership mess up scenario, and April was the recipient, and kind of coming into the situation saying, you know what, I've been making you do all this work this one way and really been on you for the past couple of weeks, only that today I found out that we need to go in a different direction. And kind of the way that he just appreciated her time, explained the background, encouraged her on all of the work that she did, apologized, and also acknowledged that, you know what, she put all this effort into it, and even though it might make it feel like she just wasted her time, but also wanted to make sure, but you were clear that you're going to make sure that you're clear on the next steps that everybody needed to do. And I think that was really helpful. And then I like what April said, is that what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this work over here instead of just like deep sixing it, being just in case we need to pull some things from it at a later time. And again, given the time that we did, I know that they probably could have gone in a whole bunch of other directions with a lot more emotion, but it was really neat just to witness.
Deep sixing. Andy, you got that right? Deep six it. All right. So, I mean, lots of great scenarios, guys. We're going to go to another breakout room. And what I want to do is, if we get a chance, right, go back and we're going to shuffle up the breakout rooms, first of all. So you're going to have a whole new set of folks. What am I doing here? That's not what I want. That's what I want. So we're going to re-deliver the same message, right? Hopefully you got some feedback from the first round, right? And then continue to do observers, right? And so we can kind of understand how we can hone in on that conversation and maybe improve upon what we've been practicing, right? Jeff, you got them shuffled up?
How much time do you want on these rooms? Because we're running low.
Yeah, we'll go about the same, about 12 minutes. I mean,
right.
We'll be right at the last minute coming back to wrap up. That's okay. Yeah, anyway, guys, it is 11:01. I apologize for the 1 minute tardiness and stuff, but all you fathers, hopefully you had a great Father's Day weekend and stuff. And June is rounding up here really quick, and July 4th in our 250 years is coming very fast, right? Go out there, have a great week, everybody, and remember,
Rodney,
I love you
what's
guys.
our topic next week?
Oh, next week is decision making.
Okay.
Right. Taking our presence of our leadership, our communication skills that we're learning today. And next week, we're going to focus on how do we make those decisions.
That sounds good. I'll miss you guys the next 2 weeks, so I'll be away. I have a quick question, Rodney, if you don't mind. Can
Yeah,
anybody join this group? People that aren't even in the tri